I think that we're challenging ourselves to understand how can we unlock experiences for consumers in this new world that still makes you feel like you're escaping, that still makes you feel
Yeah.
like you get to be part of something extraordinary. And it is hard, like watching a Cardi B concert on a live stream versus going to see her in a stadium is a very different experience. So
Yes. Yes.
so we have definitely been challenged to look at things differently, and we did a live stream during COVID called Pass Out Unlocks in Bed with, and we took consumers into like the spaces of their favorite artists that you wouldn't necessarily have seen,
Okay.
unreleased music. So we focused on a different side of the story. So it was less about the scale of the performance and more about unlocking something that you wouldn't have seen at any concert. So I guess it's
Mm,
just finding those moments and making sure that the things that we deliver to our fans still remains true to the purpose of the brand, which is about kind
mm,
of enjoyment and escapism and just the lighter side of things when we can.
yeah. Yeah. And now, I mean, I get the brand side. I get what we're doing on the brand side, but what, in your opinion, has happened to the consumer during this time? Where are they? Because as much as we can run as brands and start planning, what are the changes on the consumer side that you've experienced, and what do you think are the changes in consumer behavior going forward?
Yeah, I mean that's we have been bombarded by research, as I'm sure you
Yeah,
guys have been too, to kind of
yeah,
explain to you how things are going to change. And my view on this is that everyone is different, so we
yeah,
can say that this is what people have done, how people have changed, and what people are focusing on, but everyone is really different. So you get people that are a little bit more open to this, and you get people that are really scared. Then you got
yeah,
people who love working from home and never want to leave again, and then you get people that just want to escape. So there's lots of different nuances within the changes. But I get what we're seeing. What's probably the biggest change is that consumer buying behavior has completely shifted.
yeah.
So now I think that online shopping has always been kind of on the rise, but this just made it go up exponentially faster, and
Yeah,
people didn't trust it. Now when you were forced to do it, you see how easy it is. So
yeah.
that's been quite a big shift. And obviously in South Africa, that's a very small part of our population, right? So it's
Mm,
not everyone is able to actually do that. So what we did is we actually launched a USSD based platform, where you can buy beer online that way. So you don't need a credit card, and then you pick it up from a tavern. So
oh
it's
wow.
similar, but it's USSD. It's not over website. So like we're trying to find those gaps and close that as a business. So buying behavior
Mm,
has changed, and also how people consume media. So what are you choosing to watch? What are the things that you're choosing to take part in, and then what's your role as a brand within that behavior change? But the way that we escape has always been rooted in seeing your friends, going out to places, traveling, and that those things aren't there anymore. So people are
mm,
hungry for other forms of escaping, and there's lots of opportunity for brands in that
mm,
space if you're able to
mm.
match that to your consumer needs and if it's true to your purpose.
No, brilliant, brilliant. Now, the alcohol industry has always had this axe over its head, like um, it's always been a looming advertising ban. It's been talked about for years that um, uh, alcohol advertising will end up where cigarettes went, and being a practitioner in the field, how have brands reacted? And what do you think about that? I mean, you're doing your job, and you know that there's talk about the banning of the actual advertising. And I mean, what is the impact on the economy? What do you think about that? I mean, when you do your brand planning, and you know that there is talk about potentially banning alcohol advertising, what do you think around that topic?
Look, I mean, that, like you said, that's been a conversation that's been ongoing since I've joined the business. So that's
Yeah,
more than 10 years. And I've got no doubt that somewhere it'll become more strict.
yeah,
And I understand, right? So I'm not gonna raise my opinion on that
yeah,
so I think
yeah, yeah,
it's safer. But
yeah.
but what I can tell you from a brand management perspective, the first thing is that nothing will come out of our business if it's not responsible advertising, right? So that's the
Mm,
first thing. So And that's a good thing, I believe.
Yeah.
That's something that changed quite drastically since we started having these conversations. So we've got like internal committees which comprise of lawyers, ethical businesses, and we present most of our work to them before it even goes out of the office to make sure that
Yeah.
it's responsible and it's sending the right message. We follow all the rules very, very closely. To if government sets up rules, we don't step out of our boundaries. If that should happen, though, it will have a massive impact on the economy. And I'm not talking about selling beer and what's going to happen to the volumes of my product. I'm talking about the amount of money we spend on sponsorships, so
Yeah.
like we are the
Yeah.
biggest sponsor when it comes to sports in the country.
Yeah.
The amount of money we spend on SABC, and the radio
Yeah.
stations, the free to air
Yeah.
stations, so if all of that money falls away, it's a massive amount that will not be covered by a different industry. And I think that's something that's worth thinking about. It's not just selling beer and talking about outlet owners. It's talking about media houses, about
Yes.
different
Agencies.
media channels. Yeah, agencies.
Mm,
And although I'm all for being responsible because it is important, I believe that we can do that. We can do responsible advertising,
yeah.
and a portion of the money is not even going towards pushing product. It's going towards responsible drinking, fetal
Yeah.
alcohol syndrome, things like that. So I guess that's the part that we try to play as a business to make sure that we use some of that advertising money for responsible
And
communication as
good
well.
and good deeds. No, no,
Yeah.
I think the industry has reacted well. I've heard stories of the industry contributing to testing clinics at roadblocks and all that stuff. So I think proactively the industry has reacted quite significantly. Now, I mean, we talk about the advertising landscapes because as much as the brand's direction, you need a whole lot of partners to run a brand. What do you think of the agency landscape in South Africa in general? Just over the years when you've been
Yeah.
looking after brands.
I mean, it changed, that's for sure. So
Yeah.
I think that the advertising industry was ruled by 2 or 3 big agencies for a very long time.
Yeah.
And as everything became more agile and digitally focused, the opportunity for smaller agencies to come up through the ranks has been immense, and
Yeah.
on our side, we work with about 11 different agencies, and that's my extended team, and I would never be able to do the great work that I do without them on my side, so I don't view any agency as an agency. I actually view the people in my team as an extension of Lite, so far that I get involved in who works on the brand, who is the creative, who is the copywriter, and how do we bring different skill sets to the table, because that's the only way for you to deliver amazing work. And I think that's also changed significantly. It was always a very strict client agency relationship, and now it's not
Yes.
like that at all. We are one team, and the best work that I get comes from my smaller agencies. It comes from the agencies that are a lot more agile, that can turn stuff around much faster, that take chances when they hire people, that doesn't have as much bureaucracy, as some of the bigger agencies. And you can really see the work that comes out of agencies like that is a lot more tuned in and aligned to consumer culture sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's been really good to see.
Yeah, yeah. Now transformation has been a big discussion in the past weeks with Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, and I think the discussion is still has momentum and is something that people are talking about. What has your brand and yourself done to add to the transforming the landscape? Because it's something that a lot of people discuss, but I always say that the industry can discuss it as much as possible. We can talk about transformation, but really it relies on the clients appointing transformed agencies. It relies on the clients because once the clients who hold the budgets start making an effort to transform the agency world, then the agency world is transformed. So what is your view on transformation? What have you and your team done to transform the advertising industry?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest issues still currently when I sit in rooms sometimes and I look around me. But I'm also not scared to call that out. And that is
Yeah,
my advice, right? So if I
yeah,
sit in a room and I look at creative work, and the first thing I will say is, please look around you and tell me what's wrong around this table. So that's where I
mm,
started 4 years ago. Okay.
mm,
Where I am today, I'm so proud of everyone that works on this brand. My
mm,
team is diverse, and not just in terms of race, in terms of gender, in terms of background, in terms of where you grew up, country-wise. So diversity is really important for me
yeah,
as an individual, right?
yeah,
And it is one of the big principles in our business as well. And the agencies that I have hired in the last 5 years are all very representative. So my
mm,
PR agency is owned by a Black female, and she's one of the
mm,
smartest people I've ever met in my life, and she keeps me real, right? So she's
mm,
like one of my biggest supporters, and I have immense respect for the work that they do. So that is our PR agency. I didn't
yeah,
I didn't outsource PR to one of the bigger agencies that's where it's in house. Like I went looking for an agency like that to support, because I believe that that's the right thing to do. And when we
yeah,
hire creative talent, I make sure that out of the talent, if we interview, I want a fair representation across the board so that I can interview different types of people. And
mm,
when we do TV ads and we do directors treatments, I force the agency to bring 5 directors that are representative from race all the way to gender, right? Because even if you go
yes,
that deep, women aren't even a thing, when you start doing
yes,
directors treatments and stuff like that. So
yes,
so
yes,
that's the role that I play. Like I want people like that to be included, so that even if they're not, even if maybe you don't have as much experience yet, you get the opportunity to grow your experience, right, through the
mm,
process. But like you say, that's not going to change if we don't ask for the change. And that is that
mm,
is that is the rule. And we can't talk about being a South African brand or a pan-African brand, but then it's not, the people that work on the brand aren't representative of that
mm,
audience. It's just not right.
mm. I love that so much, and I actually even want you to give them a shout out, because there's a lot of brand practitioners here. Who is this female or Black female agency?
Yeah.
Because
So they call in sports. I actually worked with him on Carling Black Label as well. The owner is called
okay,
Felicia Ntisa. Yeah,
okay,
so amazing agency. And then our events agency is also a small agency, started from the bottom, and they're massive now. So we work
yeah,
with kind of Gain 21 or LKG Gain 21 and Quay Creative and Lebo Lucky Productions, and all the unlock stuff comes out of that team. And that's
mm,
an all kind of an all black owned agency, and also their talents also really representative, and they do amazing work. And
yeah,
when we think check our actual creative, those are the people that we pull into the room with us. So we're like, guys, this is not about an event, but I want your opinion here. What do you think
yeah,
is the talent we should put in? Because those are our people. Like I said, it's not a client agency relationship, it's my team.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
I
love
want
that.
everyone to feel that they've got a voice. It doesn't matter if you're not the lead agent, you still have a voice, because you are also working on this brand, and you've also
Mm,
put blood, sweat, and tears in. And if you treat people like that when they work on a brand with you, that's when you're gonna get the best out of the team.
mm. And
Not
I
just
mean,
based on the
yeah, yeah. And how has your experience been as a female rising through the ranks? There's a lot of females that have joined us here. What advice, and a lot of females that are growing in their different positions. What are some of the things that you've had to deal with? What are some of the lessons? What are some of the things that you would want to give advice to a female that is growing in their organization to senior positions? And what does that journey look like, and what should it look like, and what are the things to look out for as a female practitioner in this industry?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's quite an interesting journey. And I
Yeah.
guess as you get a little bit older, you get to reflect on certain things that happened, and then only do you realize it might not have been 100% fair, but in the moment you don't always see it.